Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Rebellious Wellness Lifestyle. Today, we are going to take journeys, even if only in our mind, to get us jazzed about taking a real journey with Regina Winkle-Bryan, who is not only a women's travel company owner, but an expert on international travel. And yeah, I'm really excited. She goes some of the coolest places in the world. If you want to take a look while you're listening to this at her website, it's boldspirittravel.com, all one word. Have a look. Beautiful pictures. Regina, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. And I was just listening to one of your recent episodes about saliva and jet lag.
Is that
And
crazy?
yes, and it's fascinating to me. I suffer tremendously from jet lag when I go over to Europe. So I'll do anything. I'll try anything new. So I think that would actually be a great episode to share with my guests and my
Mm.
audience. Maybe it can help some of the people who travel with me.
Yeah, I think it could. And as I mentioned on the podcast, I have used that product that Patty Milligan created. And as we mentioned in the podcast, if you've had a couple glasses of wine and you want to make sure you feel good the next day, you can also pop those gold time pills. So,
Yes, gold.
so how did you become a travel maven, an owner of this company, and specifically why for women?
Yes, I think it probably has roots way back. I've probably always been interested in travel. When I connect the dots over the last 20 plus years, I'd say it all began with Spanish, the language, learning Spanish. And I don't know why I wanted to learn Spanish. I didn't really have a reason, but I really wanted to learn another language. And I started taking Spanish classes, and I was not good at it. I had no natural talent. Everybody else seemed to be getting it, and I was just lost. I was so lost. And I would cry at
Oh no.
night thinking, God, I'm never going to get it. Maybe I should have given up. Probably other people would have, but not me. Why I'm very persistent. And so I thought, there's got to be another way. This isn't working. Sitting in a class trying to figure out verbs is not working for me. I am going to go to Costa Rica and I'm going to learn Spanish in Costa Rica. And I want to say, as an aside for people listening, this is a really good way to create community and adventure in your life because you go to learn another language in another country and you immediately have built-in community and structure because you're going to be going to classes every day and you're going to meet other students of all ages, depending on where you go, and you'll make friends. So it's really a great option for a solo traveler who wants to go out and meet other people, but also learn something new and do it in a new culture. Plus, you're going to be living, usually a language class is going to be longer than you could do it for a week, but it's usually going to be 2 weeks to 3 months, right? You'll really be immersed in another place. I think that's a good way to travel. So I went off and tried to learn Spanish in Costa Rica. I did a couple of stints. Did I learn Spanish? Yeah, I probably got a little bit better. But what I really learned was that I wanted to live in another country and I wanted to travel more. And so from Costa Rica, I went to Guatemala. I lived there for 2 years. Eventually, my Spanish is getting better and better. I ended up working in places where I was forced to use Spanish. And I worked in a boutique luxury hotel. So I worked in hospitality for a while in Guatemala. And of course, now as a travel expert and tour company owner, I work with hotels all the time. Looking back, that was part of the start of it all. This was in Antigua, Guatemala. If people have been to Guatemala, you know how fun Antigua is. And from there, I moved to Barcelona. And Greg can see my background right now. It's a picture of one of the plazas in Barcelona, right in the Gothic quarter of the city, for those of you who've been there. And I lived there for 10 years, a decade of my life in Barcelona. It's a pretty good place to be.
Well,
So at this point, my Spanish has gotten a lot better. I'm in Barcelona. But of course, upon arrival in Barcelona, I realized, wait a minute. First of all, this is not the same kind of Spanish that you
mm,
speak in Guatemala. It's different, how we speak here in the United States and then going over to the UK. There's a lot of differences. And then, of course, in Barcelona, you are actually in Catalonia, and that is they speak Catalan, and that is a different national language. It's not a dialect; it's a language. Spain actually has five national languages, and it's completely different. So, like, I had to start over, and I do speak some Catalan now. So, all of that, just starting with that Spanish class, completely changed the trajectory of my life. And because I learned another language, I was able to do things that otherwise would never have been available to me in my work and in my personal life. I eventually, after being in Barcelona for quite a while, met the man who is now my husband, and he is Catalan, he is Spanish. While I was living in Barcelona, I started working as a journalist and writing for different magazines. This was in the early 2000s. And I was given an assignment to write about walking the Camino de Santiago. And probably many of you have heard of the Camino de Santiago. It's a pilgrimage trail in Spain, and the destination is Santiago de Compostela in northwestern Spain. And it's been around for 1,000 years as a Catholic pilgrimage trail. In fact, the trail is a lot older than that, and you'll see ruins on the way that are much older. They're pre-Christian. So this trail's been used for a long time, but we know it as this 1,000-year-old pilgrimage trail. So I walked the last 100 kilometers of that, and it was quite special. It's still like top five travel experiences for me. It was really, you just meet so many people on the Camino. It's really special in that way. So later, much later in 2019, when I started my company, I knew that I wanted to take people to places that I loved. And so we started off with the Camino, with Costa Rica. In fact, as we're recording this right now, we have a group of women in Costa Rica.
I saw your post on Instagram, the crocodillos.
Oh my gosh, yes. They were just on a boat ride yesterday. They saw 20 crocs.
Wow.
That's a lot. And they also saw capuchin monkeys
Oh,
and all kinds of birds. You see so many animals in Costa Rica. Yeah, all these years later, our groups are going to these places that I loved and where I lived before. And it's really special to me in that way to be able to share these destinations. Costa Rica, the Camino de Santiago, also, of course, Barcelona. And my favorite place in Spain is the Costa Brava, which is north of Barcelona on the Mediterranean Sea. Take people there. But also France, Provence. We do hiking in the Highlands of Scotland. Where else do we go? We go to Greece. So it's Portugal. It's more than just these places that I lived now, but that's how it all started.
I want to mention the Camino. I had never thought of doing it, although I knew it existed. And suddenly I started hearing one woman after the other who was at a midpoint in their life, a transition point, as you mentioned earlier, that said, I'm going to go walk some of the Camino and see what comes up. And they see it as a spiritual journey, as a place to maybe leave everything else behind and find what's there for them that it's hard to make sense of sometimes. Like you mentioned, what if it might be that you've had a loss in your life? It might be that you're retiring. It might be that you've always wanted to, but there's something special. The couple of people that I know that have done it talked about how special it is. Neither one of the people that I know went with a group, but they met people along the way, of course. So you walk a few miles with one group, you might have dinner, then the next day you might walk with other people. They just said it was a really, I don't know, cathartic in one way experience and sort of mind opening in another. And then community. I know community is a big thing for you. And there is that on the trail, right?
That's right. Community is really, I think most people think travel company and they think, okay, it's all about going to different new places. And that is obviously important. And I want women to feel confident to be able to travel on their own. And we could talk more about that, but that is a big part. I know often we feel scared, anxious to go on a big international trip on our own. But the heart of Bold Spirit is really community. So if this group, they're in Costa Rica right now, they're having a great time, that's what I want. Yeah, I want you to have fun. But if they come home and in 3 months send me a text and say, hey, listen, I'm here with Susan and we're about to go on a hike together and we have stayed in touch, and they met on our trip, that is what makes me happiest. I really want us to come together and meet new friends, other women who are also explorers. You might have tons of friends in your community where you live. And guess what? Maybe none of them want to walk the Camino with you. They don't want to go to Costa Rica. You do other things together, but they're not your travel friends. And maybe you don't have travel friends. But there are a lot of other women out there who do want to explore and they want to have a community to do that. And I see that happen quite a bit on our trips, and that's what really makes me happy. You were saying that the Camino is especially good at that because you meet all these people along the way. That's right. If you go with a group like us, then you have a built-in community, the 10 to 14 women who you're with, plus your guides. So you start out with community and then you're going to meet all these other people. If you go on your own, and absolutely people go on their own all the time. So it's just more of a logistical lift. And there are logistics with the Camino, and you do need to train and there's some preparation for it. You'll meet people. You're not going to be alone. So it's just like you said, you'll be walking at the same pace as other pilgrims, and you're just going to get to know each other because there's nothing else to do. You're walking, so you'll just start talking to other people. Plus, you'll see them at the cafes along the way. And like you said, maybe you're staying at the same hostel or the same hotel. And it's not just people from Spain, it's people from all over. It's its own special thing, the Camino, because you're going to meet people from Japan and from Australia and from Germany, and everybody has their story as to why they're doing this. You mentioned that it's often something to do with a big life change. That's true. So I've had guests who maybe they are at a career change and they're not sure what to do next. Maybe they want to go in a completely different direction and they just need some time to think. And it really is a meditation. You're walking and thinking. And I don't know about you, Greg, but I walk a lot. And if I'm not listening to a podcast, I'm just letting myself think,
Absolutely.
work through things. Camino's good at that. So you're walking 10 miles a day or more, depends on, with our group, you do 10 miles a day. So that's a lot of time to think and also talk to other people. What's their perspective? How are they living life? Could you do something differently? Maybe there's some teachings that they can share. So yeah, big career change, a loss, empty nesting, all kinds of different big life changes. It seems the Camino seems to be a magnet for that, and it's a good place to work things out. However, I'm going to say we got to be careful with that because sometimes people put a little too much pressure on the Camino. I'm going to do the Camino and I'm going to sort this issue out for myself. The Camino has its own lessons to teach us, and it may not be the lesson that you want. Like any journey, you'll come away with something. It may not be the answer to that big question you have, but you'll have some kind of special experience for sure.
I'm glad you brought up there are some logistics to work out. You need to find a place to stay, and
Mhm.
your company has so much experience with this, it would make sense. For me, I think I would like the group because of all those things, built-in community. Plus, you guys know what we're supposed to do. Where is it safe and where is it not safe? I don't know, but I've heard, oh, you have to be careful if you're a woman walking alone. So it makes sense to have somebody like your company take care of those things and give you the pointers. And
I'm glad that you brought up safety. That's such a big one for us as women traveling alone. Something I think about a lot. The Camino is very safe as travel experiences go, even for solo women. Very few incidences of problems on the Camino
oh,
for
good,
women.
good to know.
So that we can all feel a little better thinking about that with the Camino. Then, of course, if you're with a group, even more. It is not a desolate, especially the last 100. So it really depends on where you start the Camino. And I'll say something else about the Camino. We think it's one path. It's not. It's many paths. And people were doing these pilgrimages from all over Europe. So there's the Portuguese way, there's the primitive way, there's the Catalan way. There are all different ways. And the one that we know most is the French way, because it's been featured in books and films like the movie The Way. And it's also just a really good trail because it has a lot of services on it. So that would be a top pick if someone listening is, I'm going to do this by myself. I was a solo woman traveler, then I would do the French way. And if you do the whole thing, you want to plan for at least 45 days or more. So you need to have that amount of time in your schedule. Not everybody has that. Again, that kind of lends itself to big life changes. Hey, all of a sudden I've got a lot of time on my hands. I could do 45 days or more in Spain. So if you do the whole thing, you start at the border of France. That's why it's called the French way. But most of the walking is in Spain. We only do the last 100 kilometers of the Camino, and that's much more manageable for most people. It's also the minimum that you can do and still get the Compostela, which is a certificate that says that you've completed the Camino once you get to Santiago. And you need a week to do that. We do it in 10 days, but it's more manageable and you're not stressing out your body as much. 10 miles a day. Some people listening might think that's a lot. But honestly, you have the whole day to do it.
Hmm. And you're going to eat at some point along the way, right? You're going
Yeah.
to have a meal here and there. Yeah.
You'll start with breakfast, walk for a while, stop at a cafe, have a cafe con leche, and use the restroom. People always ask, where are you going to use the restroom on the Camino? There are cafes along the way. You can use the restrooms. Then you'll stop for lunch. And plus, you're stopping at sites along the way. So there are little chapels and sometimes shops, ruins, historical sites. So your days are broken up with all these stops.
Mm.
So 10 miles is actually not too bad if you have a whole day. Now, other people, they'll really push it and they do double that or whatever. I have found that doesn't feel really very good because most people are exhausted by
Yeah.
that, or you're prone to injuries.
Blisters.
And why?
Yeah. Yeah.
What's the point? Like the point is to enjoy the trail. So
Yeah.
that's how we do it. We do not carry backpacks. We carry day packs, and we have a van that shuttles our luggage. So we're not carrying these huge backpacks, which is how I did it back in 2007. When I first did it, I had an enormous backpack, the wrong shoes. I was not prepared. I had to buy new shoes halfway through. It was just, I was giving things away that
Yeah. I
took
didn't want to carry
my
anymore.
backpack. No, we don't do any of that.
You probably have recommendations for good shoes too.
I use Hoka.
Oh, do
You,
you?
you know that brand, a trail runner.
Okay.
So not boots. You don't really need boots if you're doing the last 100 kilometers because it's not a mountainous situation. It's a walk with rolling hills. But
Mm.
you want some grip, so a trail runner is really good for that. The other thing about the Camino that's really nice is it's a fitness goal. So many of our guests, they'll be working towards it for many months. And I'll say, you want to try to train 5 times a week, 5 miles a day, at least in the couple, 2 or 3 months leading up to it, if not way before.
Yeah.
And that feels good to have, okay, I know I'm going to be doing this. And so I'm really going to commit to going to the gym and doing my walks and focusing on my health.
Are there times of year not to go to do the Camino weather-wise?
Yeah, I would say this is northwestern Spain, and parts of it, if you do the whole thing, start up in the mountains, so that could be snowy or whatever. But we go in the spring and the fall. I think the summer is pretty crowded
Oh,
and
yeah.
also very hot. I don't know about you, but I'm not really interested in hiking when it's over like 70. I prefer it to be cool when I'm walking that much.
Yeah.
So, yeah, April, May, early June, and then September, October are good. And we, in fact, take people in early June and late September.
Well, you have lots of cool pictures on your website. I saw those Scotland Highland cows.
Oh, yeah.
I love those guys. My
Yeah.
husband worked in Scotland for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years. And while he was working, if I went to visit him and I saw so much of the country, beautiful, but I love all those Highland cows are so cool.
They are definitely a hit with our guests. That's another trip that we offer that is all about hiking. So I would say Camino is walking, and you're walking over rolling hills. It is not flat. And again, this is specifically the last 100 kilometers. Scotland is mountainous and they've got great wilderness areas. And
Mm.
we go into the Highlands with trained guides, and that's hiking.
Yeah,
Like you're hiking in wilderness on wilderness pathways, and you're doing some serious elevation gain.
I
Much
see.
shorter different distances,
You're not going 10 miles in the Highlands every day.
but you'll get a nice workout. We do something on that trip where we do a hike in the morning and then we go to a lock and everyone can take a cold plunge in the lock and you go straight from the lock into a lakeside sauna and you could
Oh,
go in and out and our guests have really loved
oh,
that.
that sounds delicious. Yeah.
It's so beautiful there.
It really is beautiful. And I don't know, do you start out in Edinburgh?
Yes, and we
Uh-huh.
end there too. Yeah, so it's like a lollipop.
Yeah. Yeah. I think anytime I go to any parts of Europe, the UK, it's that things are so old compared to our country. When you see a rock wall, let's say you're climbing around in Scotland, and the rock wall could have been there for hundreds of years, and
Mm.
our country is barely hundreds of years. That
For thousands of years,
thousands
right?
of years. Yeah, yeah, beautiful.
And all the history in Edinburgh, if you follow all kings and queens. It's just a fun city too, and pretty manageable, approachable, easy to navigate.
And you can almost understand people, almost understand people. A Scottish accent can be very hard. I was looking before about the Iceland adventure. Tell me about that. Looks very active.
Have you been there to
I have
Iceland?
not.
Mm. Iceland, we're actually going next month, so we go in March. And the population of Iceland, total population, is under 400,000 people. I think
No.
I'm right about that. And then the big city, I think, has like 100,000 something. So just imagine how vast it is and sparsely populated. That's pretty unusual. We don't see that and it's just full of hot springs and glaciers and raging waterfalls and really cool caves that we go down into. Big caves. No, this is not like a claustrophobic kind of
Not
cave.
spelunking.
I have no interest in that. No, I want a large cave that is nice and set up for visitors. And I think people look at that trip and they think, oh, it's going to be a lot of hiking around and you got to be pretty physically fit for it. But it really isn't. It's more about stopping at all these very rugged, cool places. But it's not actually a hiking trip. I would say the Camino and Scotland are much more physically demanding, where Iceland, it's more like you need to have the right gear. You're going to be going walking on a glacier, and you'll be wearing crampons and like a helmet. And we have the guides with us, but it's not particularly difficult to do.
Hmm.
Also, a highlight of my travel experiences was going to walk on a glacier and see the ice arches. And that is why you want to go, or why we go, anyways, in March in the winter, because the ice is nice and solid, it's not melting. It's also not as crowded as the summer. I think whenever you can, as a traveler, try to avoid the peak seasons. You're going to
Mm.
pay more, you're going to wait in line, and summers can be quite hot, not in Iceland, but in,
A
I'm
lot of
thinking,
places in Europe,
Southern
especially
Europe.
lately with global warming, it seems that they've had a lot of heat that they didn't used to have all the way through October.
Yeah, that's why, for example, we go to Greece and southern Italy, or the Amalfi Coast, Italy. We go in May and we go in October, late September. You still have really good weather, but you're not going to be dealing with all the crowds and the really extreme heat.
Yeah. Do are there, I might have my countries wrong. Iceland has reindeer, yeah?
I don't think so.
No?
If they do,
Maybe
then
it's Norway.
I think I
You
have
have
not been to
wild
Norway.
ponies there or something in Iceland.
They have Icelandic horses.
Horses, maybe
Let's
that's it.
call
Yeah.
them ponies, then you get in trouble.
Okay, got
But they're really cute. And if anybody listening has been thinking, "Ooh, I've always wanted to go there," that's That's one that just do it. It's really safe. You would be fine as a solo woman traveler. Of course, you could come with us. We only do it once a year, so we'll be doing it again in 2027 in March. But you could easily do it alone. I've gone twice by myself and no problem. No
And
problem.
how did Iceland get on your radar? Because some of the other places you go are more like Europe centric or Costa Rica.
It was also one that I was sent a long time ago to write something about
Oh,
travel in Iceland, and it just really resonated with me. I've been to over 35 countries. I've traveled a lot, not as much as I want. There's still a lot that I haven't seen, but you know how that is, Greg, where you go somewhere and you just are like, ah, this, I could come back here again and
yeah.
again. And then other places, it's okay,
Cross that one off. Yeah, it was
saw
nice.
that. I don't
Yeah.
think I should do that again.
What's one of the places that you want to see that you have not yet seen?
Oh, I have never been to Thailand.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think I will be going later this year. It's a place that I would like to offer to our guests. I've been to Cambodia and Laos, but not Thailand. And
China, Japan.
I've been to Japan, and we're actually working on offering a hiking trip in Japan, a
Mm,
pilgrimage trip similar to the Camino, but it will be in Japan.
wow.
So stay tuned for that. That won't be next year, but the following. I've never been on a safari. I haven't been to Australia yet. There's so many places
I
to
know
go
the
once you
world
start.
is a big place. Yeah.
What about you? Where do you most want to go?
I've been having a hankering for the Norway, Sweden, Denmark, like that section of the world. We hear so much about their lives are so good, and the streets are clean and the communities are solid, right? I just want to go and experience that. And I'm always, having been a chef and a food lover,
Oh,
still, I'm always interested in other foods. And that food to me is not like Asian food. I have a category in my mind of what that might be. Latin American, Mexico, like all those countries, I have a sense of that, but I don't have a sense of pickled fish for breakfast. Or my friend went to, I think they might have been in Iceland, and she said for breakfast, they served them full fat yogurt with
mhm.
berries with heavy cream poured on top. Now I'm like, I'm in heaven just thinking about that. Much deliciousness.
I think that's called skier, and
Skyr, which you can buy skyr in a container, but it doesn't thrill me. It's very sour.
not the same.
No.
Yeah, you got to go over there and try
Yeah.
it yourself. And then you're right about the pickled fish and they have the really good bread, the dark bread. Something cool about Iceland, once you go, make sure you try this, is you can go to some of the geothermal areas, some of the hot springs.
Mm.
They'll go and fill a container with batter for their special brown bread and bury it in the sand where the hot springs are. And then you go off and you soak in your hot springs and you have your spa experience. And then you come out a couple hours later, they open it up and your bread has been baked
What?
in the oven.
Wow.
And you get to just try it right there with
That
some
is
food.
so cool.
Very cool.
Anytime I can be in a hot spring natural bath, that's just heavenly.
Yeah, it goes back to self-care, doesn't it? And
Mm.
it's something that I love. And so we've built it into a lot of the trips. So obviously in Iceland, we actually go to hot springs. And those who are listening might want to write these down if you're going anytime soon. We go to the Secret Lagoon and we also go to the Sky Lagoon. The Sky Lagoon is upscale and quite beautiful and large and near the city. So that would be an easy one to visit if you're staying in the city. Like the Blue Lagoon. The Blue Lagoon is the one that everyone's seen the pictures of, and it's very famous and absolutely worth visiting. But we don't take people there because, again, it is quite crowded and
Mm.
pretty popular. And then in Costa Rica, we go to hot springs near this volcano at this volcano ranch that we stay at. In Italy, not everybody probably thinks Italy and thinks hot springs, but
No.
there are a lot of hot springs in Italy, and especially where we go on the Amalfi Coast, we take a boat and we go to the island of Ischia.
Mm.
Now, people have heard of Capri, right? It's a famous, very posh island, is another island right near Capri, and it is famous for its thermal springs. It's just covered with thermal
Mm.
springs. We go to this beautiful private resort with all these hot springs, and people could swim in the off the beach, and it's often a highlight for guests. I'm trying to think if we do any other hot springs, but I just love them. So anytime we can build it in, and
Yeah.
you might see another trend here, which it's volcanic areas, right? So you've got Iceland has a lot of volcanoes.
Mm.
Of course, Amalfi Coast, famous volcano, Vesuvius.
Yep.
We know Vesuvius because of what happened with Pompeii and Herculaneum. So there's still a lot of volcanic activity there, which is why you have all these hot springs near the Amalfi Coast. Greece is also volcanic activity. We go to Santorini, which
Mm.
was,
So beautiful pictures there.
that was a super volcano. That's
Mm.
why it's a caldera now.
Mm.
We don't go to hot springs there, but you can actually, in that part of Greece, go off on a catamaran and they will take you to different parts of the caldera or even on the other islands, and you'll just be swimming in the sea and you can feel the hot
Oh yeah.
vents, the hot water coming up in the sea. It's
Oh,
really
cool.
special.
Now, I know that you also will plan trips for people if they have a small group or you'll help people. If I said I wanted to go to this, I want to go to Iceland, but I can't go when you guys are going. Can you help me figure out a trip?
Absolutely, we do that if you have six or more people. So think if you had like a family trip, or maybe this has happened a few times. So about a group of girlfriends, you've known each
Mm.
other forever, and you want to do a special trip for a milestone birthday. We had a group of ladies who were celebrating 30 years of friendship.
Aw,
Isn't that nice? Yeah. And
yeah.
so they all did a trip together, and we planned that for them. Here's the thing about traveling with your friends. There's always somebody who is planning the whole thing,
Mm.
like doing the spreadsheet and
Yeah.
the reservations and
And
dealing with
trying to get everybody to agree on what thing they're going to do that day. And yeah, we
exactly.
tried this, my girlfriends and I. We were like, yeah, no, it's not going to work.
It's actually really hard and it can
Yeah.
cause conflict. And then someone can start to feel resentful. I'm doing all this, or this person's not responding. Okay, it goes on and on. So here's the nice thing about going with a tour company. They do it all for you. And so you just show up. Nobody gets to argue about anything because the itinerary is already there. And you just pay for your spot, get your flights. And once you arrive, you know where you're going to dinner because it's already been booked for you. And you know what your activities are. And it just really facilitates the group experience for those friends so much better, or family. You have the same issue and dynamics come
Yeah.
up with family travel too.
Maybe worse. I'm just saying.
No, I hear you.
Because the family dynamic then, who's the oldest, who's the middle child's going to do what, the youngest.
Exactly. Yep. Who's paying for what? All that stuff. No, if it's a set departure, it's all just sorted out for you. Solo women travelers as well. There's a lot of us who are just incredibly busy. Maybe you have kids or you just have a high powered job and it's like you're making a million decisions every single day. It feels really good to just hand it to somebody else and say, I do not want to decide another thing. The only
Yeah,
thing I
yeah.
want to decide is what time I need to take my flight. I want someone else to take the reins and I can just relax. I hear that a lot
Yeah, I'll
um,
bet.
from women. So we do that really well because we have a tour leader and a tour guide on all the trips.
So, what would you like the audience to take away from this, or what didn't I ask you that you wish that I had?
Oh, I don't know. We talked about all kinds of things, haven't we? But I guess something that's my passion is how can we build more community in our lives? And then specifically, because I love travel so much, how can we develop community through travel, through exploration? I talked in the beginning a little bit about could you do a language class? Could
Mm.
you go learn French for a month and meet some new friends doing that and also fulfill some dreams of your own? Other ways to do that might be going on a retreat, like a yoga or wellness retreat. Again, you've got that built-in community. You're going to meet some new people, but you also get to go and see a cool place like Costa Rica or wherever it is that you decide, Bali, I don't know. Photography tour. You could go learn
Mm.
something new that you've always been interested in. Again, you've got that built-in community. So it's beyond just taking a trip. I love Meetup. I run several meetup groups trying to bring women together to talk about travel and to meet each other so that they can travel together.
Hmm.
So probably there's a meetup in the city you live in. That's a great way to just get out and maybe join a walking group or there's all kinds of topics.
Yeah.
So really answering that question of we're so many of us are lonely. It's an epidemic. We crave community now more than ever. And so how can we develop that and make new friendships as we go through different seasons of our lives? You're not going to have the same friends that we had 7, 10 years ago. It's just natural that you're going to lose some friends and make some new friends,
Hmm.
right? So what we have to be working on doesn't just happen. You got to show up, and that takes a lot of courage.
It does. And I was thinking of that word earlier when you were talking about something. It's going with a group like yours only takes a certain amount of courage. You have to sign up for the trip. Whereas doing it on your own takes a ton more courage because you're navigating everything by yourself. You don't know who you're going to meet or not. Like it just seems, and we have a lot of things to have to be courageous about day to day.
That's
So
true.
just going on a trip should not be one of those things, I think.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I speak to people every week, guests every week, and they are anxious about going on any trip, any solo trip, but also about going on a group trip. And so if anyone listening is thinking, I don't know, that makes me feel a little nervous, that's completely normal. Why wouldn't you feel nervous? You're going to be going on a trip with a bunch of people you've never met. And this is a question I get all the time. It's basically the gist is, will I fit in? We all want to fit in. We all want to be accepted. So, will I fit into this new group? So, I get questions like, what's your average age range? And people want to know, am I going to be the youngest? Am I going to be the oldest? Am I going to be fit enough? Am I going to have anything in common with these people? And yeah, the first night we do orientation and we have a welcome dinner, and we do things to specifically facilitate our guests being able to get to know one
Mhm.
another. We're not just going to throw you on a bus and off we go. That we don't do that. And people are have the jitters. It's
Yeah, I
like
would.
going to your first day of school. Like, how's this going to work out? Then we start to get to know each other, and it's really fun
Yeah.
because people who come on these trips, solo women, they're there because they want to be open-minded and have a fun experience with other like-minded
Hmm.
women.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not like a school trip where you have to show up. They chose, they did research. They said, I want to do this thing.
Exactly. And also, we do a lot of different activities every day, but we also build in downtime for our introvert friends who are like, I can't do 24/7 with
Right.
the group. I need some time to decompress. And people can always skip something if they're like want to do their own thing. It's
Yeah.
not, it's your trip. It's your
Well,
vacation.
I love all of this. And again, for the listeners, the website, Regina's website is boldspirittravel.com. And if you've been thinking you want to take a trip, just head over there and look at some pictures, and maybe that'll get you motivated to pick a country, pick a trip. And I know that every doctor that I've interviewed in the past 3 years has said that one of the things that is critical for healthy aging, but isn't in any medical report or doctor's office on the wall, is being connected to other people. And they said you can have your family, that's great, but you need people outside that challenge you, that stand for you, that will go to bat for you, that will take a trip with you. So, as a health person, I have to also mention to the listeners that connection is really important. And Regina's a big community person. I agree. It's really important for us as we age.
Yeah, it's not a nice to have. It's you need to have. You need to have
Exactly.
friendships and community.
Yep.
And hey, it's good for your brain too, isn't it, Greg? Go and listen to another language.
Hmm.
Or maybe you study a little bit on Duolingo or whatever before your trip. This
Yeah,
is good for the brain as well to think in a new way.
absolutely. I thank you again for your time, Regina, and all the great information you shared with us. And I don't know whether my husband's going to let me dump him and take a trip by myself, but if I was able to, I would definitely travel with your groups. So
Anytime, come on over.
I would love to. So, people, I'll be back next week with another excellent guest, and I hope that you are all well till then.